Thank you, Acting President, and I rise to express my opposition to the proposed amendment to the Road Safety Act 1986 that would allow for the treatment of medicines and cannabis in the same manner as other prescription drugs. The current form of the legislation does not consider the practical endpoint of its stipulations. I will always advocate for policies that prioritise the safety and wellbeing of our citizens, and this amendment goes against that principle. When the Andrews government legalised medicinal cannabis in 2016, we listened to the science behind it and its safety benefits in exceptional medical cases. Because we believe in ensuring the Victorians have the best quality of life, we also believe in listening to science. For example, the evidence supports the use of medicinal cannabis to treat severe pain associated with cancer and chemotherapy, and severe muscle spasms, migraines, and the worst one of all, cluster headaches, alongside other conditions. I believe I speak for my colleagues here and in the other place when I say that no Victorian should feel that they can't seek care when they need to due to the road safety laws. We are a government that proudly backs health. We are a government that knows how to make tough decisions on health. Our government listened to the Royal Commission into the Victorians' mental health system and has committed to implementing the recommendations. And in 2016, our government legalised medicinal cannabis for those who need it. Yet our government knows that one life lost on the road is one too many. The amendment is to the Road Safety Bill, and therefore road safety needs to be at the heart of the matter and how we assess the bill. We are a state that has been a leader in road safety. We led the introduction of life-saving road safety policies, including mandating seat belts, legislating random breath testing and introducing speed cameras. Our government will continue to put the lives of Victorians on the road first. Just like we listen to the evidence to support medical cannabis, we need to listen to the science with regard to our road safety. There is a growing evidence of driving with THC increasing your risk, but how do we quantify it? Many aspects of medical marijuana usage are patient-specific. The dosages, the effects, the pharmacology and the medicinal marijuana may be different based on the condition treatment plan or the form of medical marijuana. We cannot make laws on variables or patient-specific. The motor skills impact of medicinal marijuana are heavily impacted by the dosage and the form of marijuana. A recent road safety study conducted by the Victorian Institute of Forensic Medicine investigated a sample of 5,000 seriously injured Victorian drivers, showing that THC at any level almost doubles the risk of a car crash compared to the drug-free driver. Moreover, this level of risk is comparable to blood alcohol concentration of 0.05, which constitutes a drink driving offence in Victoria. Yet unlike alcohol, a clearly recognised 0.05 blood alcohol limit for THC does not exist. This is because THC is handled by the body differently. On top of that, how do we enforce it? The preliminary impairment assessment usually requires 2 members of the police to conduct the testing and then takes at least 20 minutes to complete. And should the preliminary screening return a positive result, a further sample is required alongside a forensic test. This makes it almost impossible for our law enforcement to make a fair and accurate judgment on the road. On top of that, how can testing be distinguished between recreational and medicinal cannabis use for in this instance? We have already lost 67 Victorians on the road this year. Therefore, our government cannot, in good conscience, agree to this. The existing settings are not intended to punish those under the influence of substances simply for the sake of punishment. This is supported by a survey conducted by Monash University Accident Research Centre, which found that while 93% of respondents were aware of it's illegal to drive with cannabis in their system, 44% of the respondents with a valid prescription had at least one previously supplemented their prescription by obtaining an illegal preparation of medicinal cannabis, which again introduces more variability in the effects on their system. Additionally, advice provided by the health professionals about driving varied considerably, with 16% of the respondents not receiving advice and 30% told not to drive twice feeling affected, or to wait a few hours after taking medicinal cannabis before driving. The Department of Health is researching to measure the driving performance of cognitive function of Victorians prescribed medical cannabis in driving simulators, but it has been delayed due to COVID-19. But the reality is simple. Rules are there to protect the community, to protect drivers and passengers, to protect pedestrians and to protect the hard-working drivers that work tirelessly supporting our freight industry. President, I've been fighting most of my life for the Transport Workers Union. 41% of the transport workers show a driver who's killed at work, and have 50% of them have witnessed a serious accident at work. 1 in 4 have been involved in a crash while driving. The Transport Workers Union Safe Rates, Safe Roads, Safe Skies campaign is a testament to the importance of road safety, and we cannot allow this amendment to undermine the progress that has been made toward creating safer roads for all. At this point in time, allowing for the use of medicinal cannabis while operating a vehicle runs the risks of letting impaired drivers onto our roads. We must consider the potential risks it poses to other drivers on the roads. We know that cannabis use can impair judgment, reaction time and coordination. 3 attributes of a driver that are essential to keeping our roads safe. We cannot afford to have drivers under the influence of this drug on our roads. Furthermore, this amendment would put workers at risk. The Transport Workers Union has long fought for safe working conditions for truck drivers, and allowing for the use of medicinal cannabis while driving would undermine their efforts. We cannot compromise the safety of workers who are already at risk of injury or death on the job. It would not be fair to working people of the transport industry who call their work site their home. The amendment would allow individuals to use medicinal cannabis while operating heavy machinery. This is a serious threat to safety of all our road users. This is unacceptable and goes against the principle of protecting the basic liberties and rights of all citizens. It violates their basic rights to safety. We continue to make efforts to make road safety We continue to make efforts to make the roads a safer place for those who work on them. This is shown in our efforts and cooperations with other states and Commonwealth and the National Heavy Vehicle Regulator. It would be an insult to the workers in our transport industry to, while we are making these efforts to make our roads safe, then turn them around and to give drivers the go-ahead to operate vehicles when inebriated. It is wrong and it is unsafe. We must consider the consequences of this amendment carefully. Our top priority must be to create safer roads for all, and this amendment would only serve to undermine those efforts. The risks are simply too great to ignore. Loosening the laws around inebriation on the roads sends a message that the right to drink, the right to drive is more important than the right to safe travel for all road users. This is not only unjust, but it also irresponsible and dangerous. We must continue to strengthen the laws around drunk driving, not take a backward step. Any amendment that suggests that any form of inebriation while driving sets a scary precedent. A 2020 study at Monash University found that over a 5-year period, 41% of motorist fatalities were found to have illicit drugs in their system, including cannabis-based material. This bill proposed would legalise the operation of vehicles under these substances found in the system of 41% of the road accident victims. According to the Transport Accident Commission, random breath testing has saved over 20,000 lives in Australia over the past 4 decades. The TAC also highlighted that Victoria was the first state in Australia to introduce RBT, leading to a 25% in fatal crashes involving alcohol within just 2 years. The numbers show it, the facts show it. RBT and the laws around inebriation keep Victorians safe. They keep Victorians alive. The government is always open for debate on policy on the substance. This legislation must be more thought out. It does not consider company policies on inebriation for workers. It does not properly consider enforcement. It does not consider how to be judged. So let me be clear, we must reject this amendment until we can confidently and conclusively test for impairment. Our drug driving laws must stay as they are. Our priority must be to create safer roads for all, and allowing for the use of medicinal cannabis while driving without the ability to test for impairment would undermine the goal. We cannot compromise the safety of our citizens or our road users or transport workers. We cannot compromise the safety of our citizens or our road using transport. We must continue to prioritise the safety of all Victorians, and you do so by rejecting this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Berger. Ms Crozier.